Hello everyone, welcome to PlayStation Access. My name is Ash and I am joined by Rosie.
Hello Ash and everyone.
Hello, I tried to roll my tongue like you do there, Rosie. It just came
Rosie.
out as... Well, I don't know if that sounds spooky, but hopefully it does, the Rosie, because we're talking about MADiSON today, which is an upcoming PS4 and PS5 horror game that I've had the pleasure of playing a good 4 hours of, and I've really, really enjoyed. So I've dragged Rosie into this little room.
Just this tiny room of horror.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about MADiSON, all the things you need to know about it, why you should be excited for it, and why you shouldn't sleep on this very spooky title that is coming. So let's jump right in. So number one, basically, is that it's got a great story, a captivating story, some might say, which is about Luca. Now, Luca is this young boy who was woken up in a dark room with mess everywhere. There's just a static TV blaring, static, lighting up the room.
My favourite show.
Love this one. And you've got to figure out basically what's going on and why. Your dad is banging on the door, and he sounds very distressed. Very, very distressed. I'm sure you can see a little clip of it here.
What the hell were you thinking? What in the hell crossed your mind?
His dad is banging on the door, very distressed, asking why Luca has done it, kind of what is happening to his son, where is his son, and you figure out a way to escape and get into the other part of the house, as there's two houses connected. There's your house and your grandparents' house, and your grandparents' house is where the horror kind of takes place. Now, the overarching kind of story of this is Luca has been pulled into a strange ritual that is being propelled by a woman called MADiSON. Or so it would seem, and it starts off very strong. Let me tell you, just the imagery of it is beautiful. Like, I was straight away hooked, like, oh my God, what is happening in this story? It is so compelling.
I was going to say, it's sounding super compelling at the moment. I mean, I don't even know anything about this game, and you've captivated me already.
Whoa, and a captivating story nonetheless. So
whoa!
There's basically this demonic influence that kind of casts a shadow across the story of the game that you're trying to figure out as you go, and it's not always the same one. There's different things that appear throughout. So there's constantly this element of surprise and kind of being on the back foot, which is what makes for a really exciting and scary horror game. And it's also inspired, or kind of takes inspiration from, a lot of iconic games. Now, Rosie, I'm going to say Resident Evil.
Yes! Oh, you know how to start well.
Oh, yes, because it has this inventory management system where you've got like a safe that you can go and put all your items in.
Nice.
And then kind of have to balance how much you take with you and where you want to do it, what puzzles you want to solve first.
Very classic.
Yeah. And it is a puzzle-based game, so this isn't something where you have weapons to fight back with. This is constant puzzle solving, constant kind of being immersed in this psychological horror atmosphere and finding bits and pieces to put together to explore this house and hopefully escape and survive. There's also lots of flavours of Visage in this, which is one of my favourite horror games. I know I've spoke to you relentlessly about it as well, and on the channel.
You said I still need to play Visage, but I've seen so many things of it after editing videos that you've spoken about it in great depth, and it looks brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this absolutely follows in that footsteps with Visage kind of in that PT clone kind of vibe. This is another one that has all those flavours of PT in it that has obviously taken inspiration from that genre of walking sim game, and I feel like Visage it definitely leans into heavily in a really, really good way, not in a derivative way at all. Like, it just reminds me of it a lot in all the ways that I really enjoyed Visage for. There's also this amazing mechanic with a camera, which I will get to very shortly, but it feels kind of inspired by Blair Witch 2019, which has a video camera that you can access the past with. Also Martha is Dead, a recent one that kind of has this whole ritualistic, slow burn analog camera that you have to develop all the photos of, and perhaps you'll see ghostly images in them. And of course Fatal Frame, Project Zero camera mechanics, which are just the iconography of cameras in horror games. But to get to kind of the camera specifically, which is number 2, there is some intense exploration in MADiSON that is done through the medium of a kind of possessed, haunted camera. You're armed just with, like I said, there's no weapons. You just have this Polaroid-style analog film camera that prints out pictures that there is a specific button for. You have to shake the pictures to develop them. You literally have to shake it like a Polaroid picture, Rosie.
Keep on shaking it. Is it like Fatal Frame, and is it a form of defense, or is it how you find like the spooky things? How's the camera going to come into play, basically?
So it basically is a doorway to another world primarily, but it's a bit of everything. So the game's quite dark, and all you have is this flash on your camera. You don't have a torch like a typical horror game. There's one sequence where you have a lighter, but the rest is lit up by using the flash of your camera and then shaking this picture and checking it to see what's around the corner. It's really, really good because you have the tension of this darkness and not knowing what's out there and what could be waiting for you, and then the tension of this darkness and not knowing what's on your picture that could be waiting for you as you're shaking it, waiting for it to pop up.
That's really cool.
It's really, really sick, and this is kind of implemented most effectively when you're given cues. So there are little clues kind of on the walls where there's like black printed out pictures, and you can take a picture and something will transform. So one of the early puzzles, to avoid too many spoilers, an early puzzle is putting a painting on a wall and taking a picture of it, and the painting cracks, and in your photo it looks like the guy is kind of pointing towards the wall behind you, and when you turn around there's a door there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really good. You take a picture of a chair. I think the first one you do full stop is take a picture of a chair, and it's floating in your image and it spins around in the world. Like there's this really satisfying just transformation that happens with the haunted camera, and you can take away the clues as well in hard mode. So if you kind of want to explore just with the camera and ramp up the tension even more, you can do that as well. But I played with the clues on because I was like, I want to know where to take pictures.
I'm scared and my brain is an egg right now.
Exactly, I was like egg brain in the house. It's got such a satisfying click as well. I know that's such a small thing to say, but the click's really satisfying, like on the triggers. I was like, ooh, that's really nice, that is. But yeah, I'm such a fan of the shaking of the picture. It's just such a perfectly timed bit of horror that you don't get in many games. Even though the camera's kind of been used in other ones, as I've mentioned, it feels like it's really made its own intuitive, innovative method of using this Polaroid camera. So I'm really impressed by it. I think it's really cool, and that it ties into the puzzles and into your exploration, it like in both ways, is sick. The next point I have that I kind of want to bring up is there's this blend of genres. It's like mix and match horror. So there's like these apparitions, there's these sounds, there's these little flickers in the corner of your eye, there's lights that don't quite work, there's things that look like they're moving, there's not any kind of certainty to the environment around you. And as you play, this gets more and more intense. You start getting more visions of MADiSON or the monster that's stalking you. And just when you think you kind of know what you're dealing with, it then changes completely into survival horror instead.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's, again, no weapons, but you're then kind of chased after. In the bit that I've played, you're chased after by this man in a gas mask who has the ability to kill you, which you haven't faced so far. Like, you get scared, you get jump scared, you get all these bits jumping out at you, but you just carry on. Whereas this guy can hurt you. So,
oh, no.
I know! It changes the whole dynamic of how you play completely, which I think is incredibly cool because it keeps you on your toes. So as you're playing through, there's never this certainty as to what you're doing or where you're going and what you're going to be facing. So as you come across these different entities and different beasties that are lurking for you in different areas, you don't know what's going to happen until you encounter it for the first time and how you should kind of combat it, and if it's a runaway or take a picture or, you know, I don't know, put a pocket watch on your head and dance around for a bit.
I think it's really good as well because I know a lot of people have over the years got into the mind frame of, if I don't have any weapons, nothing's going to attack me. It's just going to be a couple of spooks, but nothing can harm me. So the fact that even though you are defenseless and things can still definitely hurt and attack you, just to keep everyone on their toes, I think it's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, there's like it basically you're in this church and you have this attack that happens to you, and the guy looks at his hand. Luca is like, "Oh my God, what was that?" And you have this giant scratch down your hand, and that was kind of like this electric thrill that went down my spine because I was like, "Oh my God, they're reaching out and touching now!"
Oh, no!
And this kind of attention to detail and shifting and changing is reflected in the world as well as the monsters as well. So number 4 is the detailed world building. Now, Rosie, I'm just describing this game to you, and let me tell you, it is grotty. Like, it's disgusting in a really good way. Like, everything is mouldy and dirty and piled up. Like, it's like that Resi 7 house. Like, it's gross. Everything you come across just feels a little bit squicky. Like, it's like old and disused, and this house is filled with this lingering sense of death and misuse. And it plays into the atmosphere perfectly. But not only are there all these items that are there kind of building up the world and for you to look at, they are there to interact with as well. So there's lots of items for figuring out your puzzles and kind of looking at time. Like, time is a really big kind of aspect of this. There's clocks everywhere. But one item I picked up which really blew me away the most was a pocket watch, which you can pick up and kind of shift in the light. And as you shift it, you can see all these like fingerprints on it, like literal proper...
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, like greasy fingerprints.
Oh, greasy fingerprints.
Oh, so good. And kind of rust on the back. Like, it was super, super detailed. Like, it looked like a pocket watch that had just been left on the sofa for years. Like, it was proper grotty and used. And every item kind of has this quality to it. So when you're interacting with things, sometimes you're just looking at them because you're like, wow, this is nice. Well, it's horrible, but, you know, it's nice to look at. There's this, like, dirty, dishevelled feel to everything, which plays in so well with everything that the game is trying to do. And importantly, it changes. Just when you think you know you've seen everything again, it changes again. So not only does the camera kind of change things in the world you are and, you know, show different paths that you can take, it also allows you to time travel a bit later as well.
Oh, okay. I was not expecting time travel, I will not lie.
It kind of comes out of nowhere because there's these plaques on the wall of the church that you can take photos of. And when you take a photo of the plaque with the year on, you're then taken to that year. So you go from 2022 to the 1950s, and in the 1950s everything's quite pristine and kept quite well. Like, you know, there's the art on the walls, there's the pews all neatly lined up, everything looks pretty good. And you go to the 80s and it's a bit roughed up, it's a bit messy. Then you go back to 2022 and there's just graffiti everywhere and everything's smashed. Like, it's a really nice kind of traversal through the years that you can see that, I don't know, it's just more nice details that it didn't have to do, that it's really worked hard on bringing into it to make it this unique experience. And it does feel like a unique experience despite having all of these influences of other popular titles. It is incredible though. There's also a sequence where you're kind of transported outside of the house. Like, I spoke about the church, but there's a throughway to get to the church, which is completely unexpected, which also gave me that really good Visage vibe of otherworldliness within a set kind of dimension. So even though you're in a house and you know you're in a house and maybe you're in an attic or a basement or something like that, you take one trip down a corridor or through a little hole or a hallway and you're somewhere completely different that shouldn't be physically possible. So there's this sense of magical realism that's then turned on its head in a really scary way as well. And like, you can kind of smell and feel all of the things as you go through these environments, which is really cool.
Delightful.
One of the other bits of detail for this, which I just thought was horrible and I thought I'd mention, is you can customise your camera skins. Great, but one of the ones I unlocked was called Corpse. And it's literally just like this skin stitched together for a camera. It's so icky, but like in a cool way. I'm glad that they threw it in. There's like neon, there's pink, there's purple, there's all these nice colours, and then skin, like the Necronomicon camera. So just to round off with number 5, I kind of just encapsulated this with the idea that it's well-earned jump scares. Like, it's a scary game. It is scary, and I really like that about it, and I like that it's surprising in more ways than just one, like, you know, oh, it's horror, it's going to be something jumping out at me. Like, it is surprising the whole way through, and I feel like it earns the jump scares by doing all of these innovative things the whole way through. They pay off. It doesn't feel too much like, oh, okay, here's the music spike, here's someone jumping out. Like when you flash a camera and someone appears in the darkness, or you see something round a corner and then it's like really close to your face, or, you know, there's a statue that kind of follows you around the house that doesn't do anything, but when you turn around it disappears or appears behind you, and all these different bits and pieces that are just really well thought of, that go so far to making the atmosphere really, really good. It genuinely made me jump. I don't know if you saw me playing it the other day, Rosie.
I was going to say, when you were playing this, I was just, doing my work on my desk, and I just heard you fully go, "Ah!" Like a full-on gasp came from you, a full-on noise. So I turned around to check, and I just see this monster this thing right in your face, and but even I was just like, oh my god, I do not blame you for having that big scream reaction. I'm really downplaying it just for it really was a big scream that came from Ash.
It was. I felt like, it happened, and I was like, yeah, fair enough, because it came after this tunnel sequence, which again I don't want to spoil or talk about too much, but you're going through the tunnels and you're trying to find your way out, and you've got to listen the whole way through. The game has so many audio cues which are perfectly scary, and in these tunnels there are even more, and you kind of have to do a bit of a different thing with them by following them rather than not, even though they sound quite scary. And what you see the whole way through is spooky and unsettling, but it's never coming at you. And then it came at me, and I was like, oh my god, because it came out of nowhere all over again. But yeah, it's just, I have had such a good time with these first few hours, and I can't wait to see how the game continues to build on that, because I just really, really like it. It feels like a proper special little horror title, which I'm enthusiastic about, and I'm really glad to be able to share it on the channel as well. So, Rosie, I hope you're excited for it now as well.
I was going to say, you have got me super hyped for this. For someone who knows nothing about this game, just from what you've said alone, I'm very excited to see what this game has to offer, give it a go myself, get some spooks. It sounds awesome, and thank you for telling me and everyone all about it.
Oh, thank you for joining me, Rosie. No, I think you'll really like it. So I can tell you now, it releases on the 8th of July, and it is on the PlayStation Store, available to wishlist right now if you want to head over and take a look at the Game Hub page. So if you'd like to see some more from MADiSON, check it out there, and also come back to the channel, as I'm sure I will be making someone play it at some point. Sorry, Dave. He's not here right now to defend himself.
Well, that's why he's not here, so he doesn't even get a taste of what's to come. He's not allowed to watch this video.
Yes. But for now, that has been our preview of MADiSON, which is available for PS4 and PS5 on the 8th of July. I have been Ash, and this has been Rosie.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye!
PlayStation